Hello, guys. Welcome back to the MMA Soccer channel. My name is Fraser Crone, and we're finally here. UFC 286. All fights are official. All fights are on. Fingers crossed, we won't have any pullouts last minute. But as per this morning, official weigh-ins, everybody made weight apart from Malcolm Gordon on the undercard. He weighed in at 129.5. From what we understand, Jake Hadley is of course, willing to take the fight, and Malcolm Gordon will have a percentage of his purse taken away from him and given to Jake Hadley on that one. But the most importantly, Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman, the two men who this fight card was built around in the welterweight division, both hit the 170 mark. And interestingly as well, Colby Covington weighed in at 170 as well as a backup fighter. According to the press conference yesterday, there was a question asked about whether the two fighters in the main event, Kamaru Usman and, of course, the defending champion, Leon Edwards, knew that Colby Covington would be weighing in. Supposedly, they didn't. Supposedly, it was a little bit of a sort of surprise from the UFC, but he did weigh in this morning, hit 170. Fingers crossed he won't be needed, but that maybe alludes to who might be next for either Kamaru Usman or Leon Edwards. Colby Covington coming all the way over to England to weigh in to be the backup fighter for the main event. Alludes that he might be the next in line for the welterweight title, but that will all depend on who wins this weekend. This is your UFC 286 main card preview. I dropped this week. I've dropped an early prelims preview, a prelims preview, and now we're focusing on the main 5 fights on the card. Bangers from top to bottom on BT Sport Box Office, live from the O2 Arena in London, England. Leon Edwards' homecoming. He defends the belt against Kamaru Usman, the man who he knocked out cold last time out that they faced. I'll drop the links in the description below for all of our fight week content. We've got plenty of fight week content coming up. We got plenty of fight week content on the MMAsucker.com site already. We've got a podcast with myself and Tim Wheaton breaking down the whole card, looking at a little bit in depth, answering some of the big questions surrounding the card. We've also got, like I said earlier, my early prelims and prelims preview, 2 quick videos on there, just looking at every single fight on the card, giving a few picks, giving a few previews, looking into a few of the stats behind the guys and girls in those fights. So I'll drop them in the preview, in the link, in the bio below. But this is your main card preview. This is the one that everybody's been waiting for all week. I wanted to do this after the weigh-ins to see if, anybody did miss weight and how the guys and girls looked on the scale. Everybody on the main card made weight, and everybody looked really good doing it, to be honest. We kick off the main card. Picture this. We've just had Jack Shaw making his featherweight debut against Makwanami Akani, who, like I say, I think Jack Shaw will get the job done and do so in dominant fashion. And then we kick the card off with a matchup between ranked middleweights, Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. Marvin Vettori's record 18-6-1, Roman Dolidze 12-1. Marvin Vettori, he's the almost guy. He's only lost he's got 2 losses to Israel Adesanya and that loss to Robert Whittaker last time out in Paris. I've been watching a lot of previews and content myself this week, and I think Morning Combat, Luke Thomas and Bryan Campbell kind of nailed this one. He's jack of all trades but master of none. He's not a great striker. He's a good striker. He's not a great wrestler. He's a good wrestler. He hasn't got great cardio. He's got good cardio. He really needs that one thing. His ground game is good, but it's not elite. He really needs that one thing to pop, to really pop this in this fight. And he has, from what I understand, he's left he's left MMA Kings MMA, sorry, and has gone over to Extreme Couture to train for this fight. Does that sort of allude to the way that he's going to be looking to fight in this one? We obviously know that variety is the spice of life, in a word. And Marvin Vettori, he needs that variety. He needs to be kind of humbled at a point, because he sometimes is a little bit sort of pig-headed when it comes to his fighting career. He's gone out. Me and Tim have spoken about it. He's gone out to train, and he's gone out to Thailand. He's training with Super Bond's team. He's learning. He's training with Super Bond's trainer. The trainer Gay Muay Thai on Instagram. That is excellent for Marvin Vettori, because this is the kind of training that he needs. He needs to be taught how to be elite. Because let's be honest, Marvin Vettori's still got a big career ahead of him. He's 29 years old. He's already fought for the belt. You know, he's big for the division. He looked good on the scales this morning. The experience certainly sits with Marvin Vettori in this one. You know, like I say, he's main evented multiple times. You know, main evented against Kevin Holland. He main evented a pay-per-view card against Israel Adesanya for the belt, and he obviously lost a decision for that one. He main evented against Paulo Costa, upper weight class. Remember, if they came into fight week expecting a middleweight bout, that ended up being a light heavyweight bout. And then I think he played co-main event to Cyril Gane in Paris against Robert Whittaker. He's got the experience of fighting the better guys on his resume, but let's not count out Roman Dolidze. He's on a 4-fight win streak, of which I think 3 have come via finish. Last time out against Jack Hermansson, he locked in that sort of calf slicer and had the wherewithal to maybe not sort of chase the calf slicer, but to land ground and pound. Roman Dolidze is huge for this division as well, but he got it done. You know, he makes the weight, and he makes it with I wouldn't say ease, but with relative ease. You know, he didn't look too drawn out. He even had time to come over to the BT Sport team and you know, chat with them after the weigh-ins. This is Roman Dolidze's time. If he's going to get it done, he's going to have to get it done in this fight. You know, he's what, 34 now, so I believe 34 or 33. So, you know, he's not getting any younger, for want of a better word. He'll be 35 in July. As far as how the fight goes, I'm not quite sure. It all depends on how Marvin Vettori looks, to be honest. You know, he has got an average fight time of much more than Roman Dolidze. You know, Roman Dolidze's average fight time is 9 minutes and 6 seconds, whereas Vettori's is 16 minutes 27. Strikes landed per minute, Marvin almost doubles up on Dolidze at 4.2 to 2.62. The takedowns is where I think it's going to be quite interesting. 2.12 for Dolidze and 1.89 for Marvin Vettori. I don't remember seeing Marvin Vettori have to fight off his back for long periods of a fight ever. You know, he was taken down by Robert Whittaker, but Robert Whittaker only got 12 seconds of control time. Against Paulo Costa, he was taken down, but Paulo Costa, you know, wasn't able to hold him down. I think that was more of a sort of reactionary takedown for Paulo Costa. Jack Hermansson took him down, and again, you know, Jack Hermansson's good on the floor, but he didn't manage to get any control time on Marvin Vettori. If Roman Dolidze can get him down, you know, Marvin Vettori has got a 74% takedown defense, but if Roman Dolidze can get him down, will it be a different story? I'm not quite sure. This is a fight I'm really flip-flopping on with regards to who I think is going to win the fight. After the weigh-in, you know, I'm picking Marvin Vettori. I think that, you know, the higher level opposition is going to play a bit of a factor. Perhaps fighting, you know, in Europe, you know, he's Italian, he does train over in America, but perhaps, you know, that'll give him that extra boost. I'm not quite sure. You know, number 4, Marvin Vettori, number 9, Roman Dolidze. I think that gap might just, you know, prove to be too much for Dolidze, and I think Marvin gets it done by decision. I can't see it finishing this one, but like I said, Dolidze could potentially, you know, carry that momentum that he's got. You know, 3 fights, 3 finishes on the bounce. Could carry that momentum into this fight and outclass Vettori. I am picking Marvin Vettori, but not dominantly, and I'm not too confident in that pick, I must say. The next fight is one that I'm really excited for. Check out MMA Sucker, because I've got a piece on the return of the king, Casey O'Neill. She returns for the first time in what seems like a lot longer than it is. It was only February of last year, but she returns now to face Jennifer Maia in a clash of another ranked clash of ranked flyweights. You know, Casey O'Neill, ranked number 12, Jennifer Maia, ranked number 8. Obviously, Jennifer Maia has also competed for the flyweight title. Yes, it was a losing effort against Valentina Shevchenko, but let's be honest, she put up a good fight. You know, yes, she was dominated, but she was willing to go in there and really put it all out there, looking for the victory. And I think that's what she'll do. She'll look to play spoil for Casey O'Neill's return. Casey O'Neill, 9-0, 4-0 in the UFC, 3 finishes, and one of the most dominant wins that you'll ever see against Roxanne Modafferi. Yes, it was a split decision. I have no idea how that was a split decision. If you just look at the stats, Casey landed 230 strikes, 229 of which were significant strikes, and somehow that's a split decision. It is what it is. Casey O'Neill returns. I think this might be Casey O'Neill's coming out party, and it's the first time that she'll be competing on a pay-per-view main card. Sorry, she'll look to go 10-0, and she'll look to do it in dominant fashion. It's not going to be easy. You know, she is returning from an ACL tear. She obviously had surgery on that knee. She's had to rehab that knee, which is why she's been out for so long. But I really do think that Casey O'Neill is the future of the flyweight division, especially as the flyweight division's been, thrown in the air as of late, with Alexa Grasso beating Valentina Shevchenko last time out. And, I wrote an article, I think it was released this week, or I wrote it last week and it's been released this week at least, of why Valentina might not get an immediate title rematch. I'll link that in the description below as well. But, you've got Alexa Grasso now sat at the top of the tree at flyweight. You've got Valentina Shevchenko obviously wanting that rematch, but then you've got Manon Fiorot and Erin Blanchfield, who had a massive coming out party last time out as well, when she defeated Jessica Andrade by second round submission. This is Casey O'Neill's time to cement herself as one of the best in the world at 125. She's looked pretty flawless, like I say, in her UFC career thus far. She holds a height and reach advantage. I think she's probably going to be the stronger girl in there. With that being said, Jennifer Maia looked ripped on the scales this morning. She looked really, really good at the weight. So who knows? Is Jennifer Maia really going to push the pace? Really going to test that knee of O'Neill? Is she going to be slamming leg kicks into Casey's leg? At the moment, we don't know. I think this fight will play out if Casey O'Neill can keep it long. For me, Casey O'Neill needs to be either all the way in or all the way out. She can't be stuck in that middle ground with Jennifer Maia, because Jennifer Maia will swing hooks to the body and will swing hooks upstairs as well. I think she needs to be, like I say, all the way in, looking to take Maia down. She averages 2.59 takedowns per 15. Sorry, I'm not doing a football breakdown. Yeah, so 2.59 takedowns per 15 minutes per fight. And when she gets her opponent down there, they struggle to get up. Casey, when Casey O'Neill grounds you, you tend not to get up. Shayna Dobson was taken down 4 times by Casey O'Neill. The fight only lasted 8 minutes and 41 seconds, and 7 minutes and 26 of those were controlled by Casey O'Neill. She then took her next opponent down once and controlled her for 5 minutes 42 seconds. Antonina Shevchenko was taken down and controlled for just over 5.5 minutes. Roxanne Modafferi actually did a lot better, but Casey decided to sort of stand and trade with Roxanne Modafferi, as we saw the state of Modafferi's face and Casey's. She took her licks and she kept on walking forward in that one. I think, like I say, I think Casey needs to be all the way out, jabbing on the outside, hitting Maia with kicks, or all the way in, taking Jennifer Maia down, looking to work her submission game, her grappling game. And this is what I like about Casey O'Neill is if when she gets her opponent to the floor, she doesn't just lie on top of them and look to kind of, dominate the position. She's constantly moving positions. She's constantly looking for submissions. She's constantly looking for ground and pound. I'm picking Casey O'Neill to win this one, and I'm actually picking her to finish Jennifer Maia, which will be a huge statement. Jennifer Maia has only lost to the very best in the UFC. She's obviously lost to the champion Valentina Shevchenko. She's lost to Caitlin Chikagian twice, and she lost to Manon Fiorot. So if Casey O'Neill can come out there and actually finish Jennifer Maia, I think it's a huge feather in her cap, and it'll serve as a huge coming out party for Casey O'Neill. And I think she's capable of doing that. So yeah, Casey O'Neill probably I'm going to go by submission, but if she doesn't get the submission, I think it'll be a ground and pound finish for Casey O'Neill in that one. I'm really excited for that one. If you couldn't tell already, the next matchup is also one that I think, rarely do we get a replacement fighter that gives a more exciting fight than the one originally booked. However, I think that's the case in this one, and it's always going to be the case whenever Bryan Barberena fights. Bryan Barberena takes on Gunnar Nelson in London. Gunnar's sort of adopted home of London. He almost exclusively fights in London. As of late, he fought on the Till Masvidal card. He fought on Hermansson versus Cannonier. Obviously, that was over in the US. He then fought on the Volkov and Aspinall card last time out. A dominant decision over Takashi Sato. We know what Gunnar Nelson's going to do. He's going to come out in that long karate stance, look to slap the leg kick into Bryan Barberena. If he can get his hands on you, he'll get you down from a clinch, usually a clinch trip, and he'll look to dominate on the floor, constantly move positions and look to land a little bit of ground and pound. But unlike Casey O'Neill, won't put himself in those risky positions to land that ground and pound. We also know what Bryan Barberena brings: a hard head, and a willingness to walk forward and eat a lot of shots just to land one. The thing, if I was a Bryan Barberena fan, the thing that concerns me slightly is his takedown defense is just 54%, which means pretty much he's taken down one in every two attempts. Now, Gunnar Nelson's takedown accuracy is 60%, but that doesn't really give, yes, it's only 60%, but when he gets you down, he keeps you down there. He doesn't try and work a submission that you won't get. I mean, if you remember when he faced Alex Oliveira, Cowboy, in his sort of comeback fight after losing to Ponzinibbio, he had a lot of time out after that one. Just check it out how long that was. So he lost to Ponzinibbio, in the July of 2017, and he didn't return to until the December of 2018. So he had almost a year and a half off, and he returned in a brutal way. He sliced Cowboy Oliveira open badly with an elbow, and then locked in the rear naked choke and got that one done. Let's not forget he also lost a split decision, after that fight in London to Leon Edwards, the man who's headlining this card in the main event. Gunnar Nelson's really good. Bryan Barberena, he's an all-action fighter, and I think Gunnar is going to struggle to maybe get on his game a little bit. I think Bryan Barberena probably puts Gunnar Nelson, on his heels from the off. Bryan Barberena, you can just tell by the stats how these guys, it's a clash of styles, should we say. Gunnar lands 1.83 strikes per 15, and lands 1.86 takedowns per 15 minutes. Now you compare that to his opponent on the night, Bryan Barberena. Bryan lands 5.92 strikes per minute. So he's much, much more active than Gunnar Nelson. And he averages 0.16 takedowns per 15 minutes. So he's not really interested. What that would suggest, he's not really interested in taking the fight to the floor. Bryan Barberena, and work his ground game. He wants to go in there and he wants to scrap with you. With that being said, if you look at Bryan Barberena's, fights, just taking it back from 2021, he was taken down 8 times by Jason Witt, 4 times by Darian Weeks, 5 times by Matt Brown. Wasn't taken down by Robbie Lawler, but we wouldn't have expected that from Robbie. And he's taken him down 4 times in just over 2 rounds. A little over 2 rounds a little under 3 rounds by Rafael dos Anjos, and ultimately choked out. For this one, it's a really difficult fight. Where's Gunnar at? If he can, the crowd are going to be right in the corner of Gunnar Nelson, and I think that does carry him through. I think he probably gets a decision or a late TKO after taking Bryan Barberena down and sort of mauling him when he is down there. I don't think Bryan Barberena's ground game or his takedown defense is good enough to deal with Gunnar Nelson, who, like I say, I really do think the crowd will be on his side. I think Gunnar Nelson will get it done by either decision or late TKO, in my opinion. Now we've got the co-main event, and what a co-main event we've got. Justin Gaethje, former interim lightweight champion, 2-time lightweight title challenger, all action Justin Gaethje. Then he's currently ranked number 2, number 3. Oh, he's ranked number 3 in the lightweight division, taking on one of the hottest prospects in the lightweight division at the moment. And we can only call him a hot prospect. We can't call him a hot prospect for much longer, Rafael Fiziev, because Rafael Fiziev is knocking at the door of a world title shot. He's not looking beyond Justin Gaethje with no chance that he's looking beyond Justin Gaethje. But these two guys, the stats alone kind of tell you everything you need to know about this fight. And me and Tim on the MMA Soccer podcast, we do bang on that you can't read too much into stats, but the stats alone tell you kind of how this fight's going to go. Strikes landed per minute, Justin Gaethje 7.46, Rafael Fiziev 4.81. Strikes absorbed per minute for Justin Gaethje 7.85. So he has a negative differential. He absorbs more strikes than he lands. And for Rafael Fiziev, 4.86. Again, absorbs slightly more strikes than he lands. Takedown average for each man, Justin Gaethje, 0. He's never attempted a takedown in the UFC. Rafael Fiziev, 0.36. Off the top of my head, I could not tell you a single time that Rafael Fiziev has looked to ground an opponent with any sort of great intent. He's recorded 1 of 1 against Alex White in his second UFC fight, and 1 of 2 against Mark Jacasey in his third UFC fight. Since then, against Renato Moicano, he didn't land a takedown. Against Bobby Green, he didn't land a takedown. against Brad Riddell, he didn't land a takedown. And against Rafael dos Anjos last time out, he didn't land a takedown. A lot of people have been saying Justin Gaethje should be looking to wrestle Rafael Fiziev, but that's not the kind of fighter Justin Gaethje is. This one is going to be all action. These two are going to meet in the middle of the octagon and just slam each other all over the octagon. You know, leg kicks are going to be flying in from each man. You know, Justin Gaethje famous for his leg kicks back in his World Series of Fighting days. We know that Rafael Fiziev has got an awesome Thai kickboxing background. Justin Gaethje, which Justin Gaethje we're going to see, because after his loss to after his loss to Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez back to back, we saw a much more reserved Gaethje against James Vick, against Edson Barboza, against Donald Cerrone, and to a degree against Tony Ferguson. You know, this was a Gaethje that was picking his shots. That was, you know, he was landing 2 or 3, but then he was out. He wasn't landing 2 or 3 trying to roll with the punches. You know, how many times have we seen Justin Gaethje with his guard high trying to roll with the punches, and you know, it served him well. It got him to that interim title shot against Tony Ferguson, which he obviously went on to win. And then it got him the title shot against Khabib, and obviously he lost that one. But then he kind of reverted back to type against Michael Chandler. Was that Michael Chandler bringing it out in him? Quite possibly. But he also reverted back to type of sorts against Charles Oliveira. It's a risky fight for both men because, you know, with a win for Justin Gaethje, where does that put him in the lightweight division? He's still got Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira above him in the lightweight, and of course Islam Makhachev at the top of the tree. But what does it do? You know, he needs to beat either Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira next to get that shot again at the top, because he has a loss to both of these guys. For Rafael Fiziev, you know, the division's pretty booked up. If he beats Justin Gaethje, he then gets a Dustin Poirier kind of fight. You know, Charles Oliveira is obviously fighting Beneil Dariush. Looking further down, you know, if Rafael Fiziev loses, it's a tough one, because he'll drop down in the rank. You know, he might face a Mateus Gamrot who's coming off a big win against Jalen Turner. Arman Sarukian is obviously booked against Renato Moicano now. You know, looking slightly ahead, if he does win, you know, Michael Chandler obviously booked against Conor McGregor on you know, for the sort of the coaches fight on Tough. It's a tough one to call. It's a really tough one to you know, predict, because both of these guys, you know, can put out their opponent with a single shot. And when we say a single shot, we literally mean a single shot. It takes one Justin Gaethje left hook. It takes one Rafael Fiziev right hook. You know, Justin Gaethje is only 34 years old. It feels like he's been fighting for a lifetime. 23 wins, 4 losses. With that being said, Justin Gaethje is an old 34. He got dropped by Charles Oliveira. He got hurt by Michael Chandler. He obviously got finished by Khabib via submission. He got dropped by Tony Ferguson. Is that chin finally starting to deteriorate? And if it is, you don't want to be going in there against Rafael Fiziev, because that is the kind of guy, you know, he trains at Tiger Muay Thai. If you go in there when your chin's on the decline, Rafael Fiziev is going to find that chin and he's going to punish that chin. I am going to pick Justin Gaethje on this one. And I think, to be honest, I'm not sure why. I've kind of just talked myself into a Rafael Fiziev pick, but I think Justin Gaethje's experience is just going to be that little bit too much for Rafael Fiziev, and he's going to pull off the victory. I can see it going to a decision. I can see it being an all-action fight, as we sort of alluding to, but Justin Gaethje, for me, gets it done via decision after an all-out fight of the night war. Maybe Fiziev cardio lets him down. We know he carries power late because he knocked RDA out in the final round. But for some reason, I'm just leaning towards Justin Gaethje. And then we get to the main event. And, you know, I'm not going to talk for too long on this one because me and Tim broke it down on the MMA Sucker podcast. So go and check that out. And what we're kind of alluding to on that one is that there's not an awful lot to talk about with regards to tactics, analysis, you know, because we did it in August and I don't think a lot's changed. The keys to victory for Leon Edwards remain, you know, don't move straight towards Usman, don't get backed up against the fence and move laterally. He didn't do that in the second fight. Obviously, this is a trilogy fight, but it's a second fight that we're really looking at. That one obviously happened only in August. The last one was in 2015. It's a tough one to call without a doubt, because I do think that Rocky is But I mean, Rocky is the far crisper striker. Usman's the far better wrestler, and it all comes down to me is how's Rocky going to be able to handle the emotions. You know, this card is built around him. Last time he was in London against Gunnar, he was getting booed in his home country against a foreign fighter. Now he is going to get an almighty cheer, and how's that going to affect his mental? How's that going to affect his adrenaline? At the moment, you know, we can't say because we don't know how that's going to affect his adrenaline. Is he going to have an adrenaline dump? I don't think so. I think he's really prepared. Kamaru Usman at the weight this morning looked really good. You know, he's always going to he's huge for the weight, so he's always going to look a little bit sunken in. But Kamaru Usman looked good at the weight. He was first one to weigh in, 170 on the nose. And the weigh-ins were at 9 o'clock local time. So these guys have got the best part of 36, 40 odd hours before they make the ring walk to rehydrate, to get the fluids back on board, to get the carbs in their system to burn off tomorrow, to really dial in on the fight. They've got the ceremonial weigh-ins this evening. I think that's probably about 6-7 o'clock this evening, but I'll we'll be letting you know what time that is on the MMA Sucker Twitter at MMA Sucker. But there was a slight concern maybe from some that Rocky didn't weigh in straight away. It didn't concern me whatsoever. If he knows he's on weight, what's the rush? He weighed in sort of midway through the weigh-ins. Probably, they kicked off at 9 o'clock. He probably weighed in quarter past 9, half 9, just sort of quarter to 10. There was no worries that Rocky was ever going to skip the weight, miss the weight. Sorry, and he's never missed a weight. He looked good at the weight. He didn't look too, Leon's a big guy for 170. He didn't look too sunken in even. He kind of almost jogged onto the stage, jumped on the scale, 170, thank you very much, and off he goes, ready to rehydrate. For me, this one's going to come down to where's Kamaru Usman at? Because Leon Edwards is going to be dialed in, he's going to be switched on, he's going to be in full fight mode, ready to defend his crown on his home territory and send Kamaru Usman back to the US with his second straight loss, and hopefully for Rocky, his second straight knockout loss. For Kamaru Usman, he seemed passive to me this week. He didn't do an awful lot of media. We obviously saw him in the embedded series. He was trying to get under Rocky's skin a little bit by sort of almost taking the piss out of his trainer in the press conference yesterday. But Leon Edwards has always got that thing over him. He wrapped his shin around his head and knocked him out cold in the 5th round and took his belt off him and ended his long winning streak and ended Kamaru the questions surrounding Kamaru Usman being the greatest welterweight of all time, in my opinion. Rocky's always got that in his back pocket. It's where Kamaru Usman is at the moment. I think he's 36 years old, but his body is broken. We know that now, and he had the broken hand, or he had to have the hand surgery earlier this year. He's obviously coming off the first knockout loss of his career, probably the first time he's ever been knocked out in his life. How does that affect his mental? How does that actually affect his chin and his brain? Is he more susceptible to being knocked out now? We don't know these questions. How is his body holding up? We know that he famously can only jog on grass. He can't jog on concrete because his knees are so broken from the years and years of cutting weight and competing in wrestling. We know that he supposedly goes up the stairs backwards and down the stairs backwards because it puts less pressure on his knees. And this is a guy that you want to go in there and compete for 25 hard minutes against one of the best in the world at welterweight. There's so many questions surrounding Kamaru Usman. There's so many questions surrounding Leon Rocky Edwards. And we're going to find out tomorrow night. And I am so excited for the fight. Keep it locked to MMA Sucker. We're going to have staff picks that will be very interesting. And we're going to have live results. For me, I think Rocky gets it done. I think he gets it done by decision. I think he maybe plays it slightly safer than we maybe expecting against Kamaru Usman. I think he'll be sharp. I think he'll be quick. And I think, is Kamaru Usman a slow starter? This is a question that I thought about after the MMA Sucker podcast this week with Tim that I would have loved to get Tim's view on, because is Kamaru Usman a slow starter? He got dropped by Gilbert Burns in their first round, when they fought. And Rocky, pretty much dominated him in that first round back in Salt Lake City, Utah on August 20th. Rocky, he became the first person to ever take Kamaru Usman down and did so with ease, really. He was taken down, he fought back to his feet, and he landed the trip. He landed on Usman in that fight, in that first round. He took Usman's back, and if there was a minute or two left in the round when he took Usman's back, we may be asking the question of, how close he would have been into to submitting Kamaru Usman in that fight. But I think Rocky needs to start quick, move laterally, keep it long, and work what he did last time. Work the leg, work the body, go upstairs, work the body, work the leg. He needs to go through the full range of kicks that he's got in his arsenal. We know that he's a phenomenal kicker. We know that he's got all these kicks in his arsenal. I'm going Rocky by decision, and not a wide decision. I think it could be split. I think we could be, talking on Monday's MMA Sucker podcast about scoring criteria. Why is it that, he was held down for maybe 2.5 rounds, but he landed the more damaging shots, did the more damage? I think that could be where this fight goes. I think we could be pulling out, the criteria on this one to kind of prove to people why Rocky did win the fight by narrow, possibly split decision. So yeah, Rocky's going to hopefully win this one, hopefully from a UK standpoint, and go on to bigger and better things and really start to put his dominance out on this welterweight division. So that's your UFC 286 main card preview. Keep an eye on the MMA Sucker YouTube channel. Drop the likes, drop the comments. Me and Tim and Jeremy and Nate and everybody involved in the video side of things love to read your comments. We discuss them in our group chat. So, be sure to drop a comment below, with your picks, who you think is going to win. If you think my analysis is far off, tell me why, and I'll happily come back at you and explain why I think I'm right. And I'm willing to listen to you guys as well. The MMA Sucker YouTube channel, we had a huge interview last week with Marlon Moraes, who competes for PFL. Andrew Benjamin conducted that interview, so check that out. Next week, we've got Melissa Dixon on the on the show with me and Tim. I think we'll do a UFC 286 breakdown, and then we'll both jump on a bit of a chat, a bit of an interview with her on Wednesday. She fights for the Ares Bantamweight Championship in April, and I won't really reveal who, but Tim conducted a massive interview with a really, really well-known MMA fighter who fights for one of the biggest promotions in the world. He's one of the most recognizable names in the world of MMA. I think that'll be dropping on Tuesday. It drops one day next week, so keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that interview, because that is one that you definitely don't want to miss. Take it easy, guys. Enjoy UFC 286. Thank you very much.